They offered me a promotion as a woman. Someone had told me a year ago that my career would depend on becoming a woman. I would have laughed in their face. Not a nervous laugh. A real one. The kind that says, "That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard." But life has a strange way of turning jokes into reality. And sometimes reality turns into a trap. My name is Daniel Carter, 28 years old, junior marketing analyst at Horizon Dynamics, a massive corporate firm in downtown Chicago. Kind of company with glass walls, silent elevators, and employees who always look like they're competing in a fashion magazine. I wasn't one of them. I was the quiet guy in the corner office row. The one who stayed late. The one who finished reports nobody else wanted. The one who hoped that maybe, just maybe, hard work would eventually get noticed. For 3 years I had been chasing the same thing. Promotion. Not because I wanted power. Not because I cared about titles. But because I needed the money. Rent in the city was brutal. And my girlfriend Mia and I had been barely keeping up. Mia was the opposite of me in almost every way. Confident, bold, type of woman who could walk into a crowded room and instantly own it. She worked as a fashion stylist for small photography studios, and while the job didn't always pay well, she loved it. Clothes were her world. Textures, colors, design. Sometimes our tiny apartment looked more like a boutique than a home. Racks of dresses, boxes of heels, scarves hanging from chairs, and makeup everywhere. I used to joke that if someone broke into our apartment, they'd assume 2 women lived there. She'd laugh every time. But what Mia didn't know was that sometimes when she wasn't home, that joke became a little too real. I never planned to try on her clothes. It just happened. One night Mia had left early for a late photo shoot, and I was home alone finishing a report on my laptop. I remember standing up to stretch and seeing one of her dresses hanging over the back of the chair. A simple black dress. Soft fabric. Elegant. And for some reason, I couldn't stop staring at it. It wasn't attraction. Not exactly. It was curiosity. Kind that whispers, "What would it feel like?" I told myself it was stupid, ridiculous, embarrassing. But curiosity can be stronger than logic. 5 minutes later, I was standing in our bedroom mirror wearing Mia's dress. And my heart was pounding like I'd committed a crime. The fabric hugged my body differently than I expected. The neckline felt strange. The sleeves brushed against my arms. But the strangest part wasn't the dress. It was the feeling. Not shame. Not excitement. Something else. Something complicated. Like I was looking at a version of myself I didn't understand yet. I remember staring at the mirror for almost 10 minutes. Just studying myself. Trying to process what I was feeling. I didn't look convincing. Not even close. Broad shoulders. Messy hair. Awkward posture. But still, something about the transformation fascinated me. Like stepping into someone else's life for a moment. I quickly took the dress off before Mia came home. Folded it perfectly. Placed it exactly where it had been. And told myself that would be the last time. Of course, it wasn't. Over the next few months it became a strange little ritual. Only when Mia wasn't home. Only when I was absolutely sure she wouldn't come back early. Sometimes it was just a dress. Sometimes heels. Once even makeup. The first time I tried eyeliner I looked like a raccoon that had lost a fight. But somehow it made me laugh. And that laugh felt freeing. Still, the secret stayed locked inside me. Mia never knew. My coworkers never suspected. To them I was just Daniel. Quiet. Reliable. Invisible. Until the day my boss called me into his office. And everything changed. It was a Thursday morning, rain tapping against the windows. My inbox had just filled with another wave of deadlines when I got the message. "Daniel, come see me." From Mr. Lawson, our department director. Nobody liked being called into Lawson's office. He had the personality of a calculator. Precise, cold, and always calculating. I assumed it was about a report, maybe a correction, maybe a new project. But when I walked into his office, something felt off immediately. Because he wasn't alone. 2 other executives were sitting across the table. And they were all looking at me like I was some kind of experiment. "Daniel," Lawson said calmly. "Please sit." My stomach tightened. I sat down slowly. Lawson folded his hands, then said something that made absolutely no sense. "We've been reviewing your work." I nodded nervously. "Your analytics reports are exceptional." That surprised me. Lawson never complimented anyone. Then he continued. "And we believe you're ready for a promotion." For a moment I thought I misheard him. A promotion? Finally? But then, he added one more sentence. A sentence that completely changed my life. "However," he said carefully, "there is a condition." The room went silent. I frowned. What kind of condition? The 3 executives exchanged glances. Then Lawson slid a folder across the table toward me. Inside the folder was a photograph of a woman. But the strange part? The woman in the photo looked exactly like me. Same eyes, same facial structure, same expression. Just female. My heart skipped. "What is this?" Lawson leaned back in his chair and calmly said the words that would turn my world upside down. "Daniel, our company needs a female executive for a very specific project." He paused, then looked directly into my eyes. "And we believe you could be perfect for the role." Daniel hasn't realized yet what they are truly asking. But the promotion comes with one impossible requirement. He must become the woman in the photo. And if he refuses, his career might be over. For a few seconds, I couldn't speak. I just stared at the photo. The woman looked uncannily like me, but softer. Her hair was longer, styled in loose waves. Her face carried subtle makeup. A confident expression sat behind eyes that looked almost identical to mine. It was like someone had taken my face and reimagined it. "Is this some kind of joke?" I finally asked. No one laughed. Mr. Lawson folded his hands calmly. "This is a simulation image created by our design department," he said. "It shows what you might look like if you presented as female." The words didn't even register at first. Presented as female? I blinked. "I'm sorry," I said slowly. "I don't understand." One of the executives, an older woman named Claire Whitmore, leaned forward. "This project requires a female lead consultant," she explained. "But we cannot hire someone externally." "Why not?" "Because the project is confidential." My brain was already struggling to process everything. "So you're saying you want me to pretend to be a woman?" Lawson nodded once. "Yes." I laughed. Not because it was funny, 'cause it was absurd. "You're serious?" "Completely." Claire slid another folder across the desk. Inside were documents about a new corporate initiative called Project Athena. Company had partnered with a massive international client that required their marketing lead to be female for brand representation reasons. But Horizon Dynamics had a problem. Every senior analyst in the department was male. Except they didn't want to hire someone new. They wanted someone they trusted. Someone already inside the company. Someone capable. Someone discreet. Someone like me. We believe you're the best candidate, Lawson said. My head spun. You're asking me to cross-dress for a corporate project? Present professionally as a woman, Claire corrected. That's insane. Is it? Lawson asked calmly. He pushed one final document toward me. It was a contract. The top of the page. Senior Marketing Director salary, $185,000. My breath caught. That was more than triple my current salary. My mind immediately flashed to our apartment. The bills. The stress Mia tried to hide. Constant budgeting. This promotion would change everything. But the condition. I looked back up slowly. You can't be serious. Lawson's expression never changed. This position would last 6 months. 6 months? Yes. And during those 6 months, you would present publicly as a female executive under a new professional identity. My heart started racing. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't a weird corporate test. They were completely serious. Claire flipped open the folder again. Inside was a name. Danielle Carter. My stomach dropped. You even kept my last name. It simplifies documentation, she said. The folder contained everything. A new employee profile, corporate ID mock-ups, professional headshots, edited versions of my face as a woman. The level of planning was terrifying. You've already prepared all this? I asked. Lawson nodded. We were confident you would consider the opportunity. Consider? This wasn't a normal career decision. This was something else entirely. What if I say no? I asked quietly. The room went silent for a moment. Then Lawson answered honestly. Then we will offer the role to another internal candidate. But you just said there isn't one. Claire looked at me carefully. We have alternatives. Something about the way she said it made me uneasy. Not threatening, but final. My mind was spinning so fast I barely noticed what I said next. You really think I could pull that off? Claire smiled slightly. We do. I swallowed. 'Cause the truth was, they had no idea how close they were to the truth. They didn't know about the dresses, the heels, quiet nights experimenting in the mirror. They thought they were asking a completely normal guy to do something outrageous. But for me, it wasn't entirely unfamiliar. And that realization made my heart beat even faster. Then Lawson said something that made the situation even stranger. We didn't choose you randomly. I frowned. What do you mean? Claire tapped the folder again. Our behavioral analytics department flagged you months ago. Flagged me? For adaptability. I had no idea what that meant. You consistently demonstrate unusual flexibility in identity presentation. Identity presentation? What does that even mean? Claire hesitated slightly, then said something that nearly stopped my heart. For example, the security camera footage from your apartment building. Cold panic rushed through me. Excuse me. The hallway camera recorded you leaving your apartment wearing. She paused politely. A dress. My entire body froze. They knew. Not everything, but enough. My throat went dry. You were spying on me? No, Lawson said calmly. But our security partner manages the building's camera system. They had accidentally discovered my secret, and instead of firing me, they were offering me a promotion. My brain could barely keep up. So you think because of that, I'm qualified? Claire smiled slightly. It showed us you were capable of transformation. I should have walked out. Any sane person would have. But then Lawson asked one simple question. Daniel, have you ever worn high heels? I hesitated. And that hesitation answered everything. Claire leaned back in her chair. We can arrange professional training, she said. Wardrobe, makeup, voice coaching, everything. They were serious, completely serious. My heart pounded louder and louder, 'cause part of me was terrified. But another part one had never fully admitted before, was curious. What happens if I fail? I asked quietly. Lawson shrugged. You return to your current position. No penalty. No exposure. No consequences. Just 6 months as someone else. 6 months as Danielle. I stared at the contract again. The salary. Promotion. The opportunity. But also the secret thrill building in my chest. 6 months wearing dresses. Heels. Makeup. In public. Not hiding. Not alone in my bedroom. But as someone powerful. Someone confident. Someone new. And then I thought about Mia. What would she say? Would she laugh? Would she think it was insane? Or would she secretly love the challenge? I looked up slowly. When would this start? Lawson smiled slightly. Immediately. Claire added one final detail. There is just one more step. What step? She opened a small black case sitting on the table. Inside was a pair of elegant black high heels, my size, and a blonde wig. The room suddenly felt much smaller. Lawson leaned forward. If you accept the position, he said calmly, your first task is simple. My heart pounded violently. You must walk out of this office. He pointed toward the heels. Wearing those. Daniel hasn't made his decision yet, but the heels are sitting right in front of him. And the executives are waiting. Promotion. The money. The secret life he never imagined living. All he has to do is put them on. The room felt smaller with every passing second. The black heels sat on the table like they were waiting for me. Elegant. Shiny. Dangerous. I had worn heels before, but never like this. Never in front of people. Never in an office. Never in front of my bosses. Mr. Lawson didn't say a word. Claire Whitmore simply watched me calmly. And the third executive, Mr. Ramirez, looked almost amused. They were waiting to see if I would break or transform. My hands felt slightly cold as I slowly reached toward the heels. For a moment, I stopped. This was the point of no return. Once I did this, the line between Daniel and Danielle wouldn't just be a secret anymore. It would be official, professional, public. I swallowed. Just walk out wearing them? I asked quietly. Lawson nodded. That's the first test. And if I fall? Ramirez smirked. Then you stand back up. Claire added gently. Confidence matters more than perfection. I took a deep breath. Then I picked up the heels. I bent down and removed my shoes. My hands were shaking slightly. Not because the task was difficult, but because the situation was surreal. 3 executives, corporate office, and me, about to put on high heels as part of a job interview. I slipped my right foot into the first heel. The familiar tightness wrapped around my foot. Then the left. When I stood up, the balance shifted instantly. Heels always did that. They forced your posture to change. Your hips adjusted. Your back straightened. Your steps became careful, controlled. I could feel their eyes watching me. Every movement, every adjustment. I took one step, then another. The sound of the heels clicked sharply against the polished office floor. Click, click, click. My heart pounded louder with each step. Lawson stood and walked toward the office door. Follow me, I hesitated. Out there. He opened the door. The hallway outside was filled with employees. Phones ringing. Keyboards clacking. People walking between departments. My stomach twisted. If someone sees me, they will, Lawson said calmly. That's the point. Claire stood up behind me. Danielle will need confidence. She gently adjusted the blonde wig on the table. You may want this too. The wig looked incredibly realistic. Soft blonde hair falling to shoulder length. I stared at it, then slowly picked it up. Putting on the wig felt even stranger than the heels. But once it was in place, the mirror on Lawson's office wall caught my reflection. And for a brief moment, I didn't see Daniel anymore. Not completely. Something else was forming. Something unfamiliar. Something intriguing. Lawson stepped into the hallway. Come on. My heart felt like it might explode. But I followed. Click. 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 The sound of the heels echoed down the corridor. Several employees looked up immediately. One woman frowned in confusion. 2 interns whispered to each other. Someone dropped a pen. But the strangest part? Nobody laughed. Nobody pointed. Most people simply looked curious, like they were trying to understand what they were seeing. And somehow that made it easier. Kept walking, trying to keep my shoulders relaxed, trying to remember the way Mia moved in heels. Graceful, balanced, confident. Halfway down the hallway, something unexpected happened. A coworker I knew, Jason from accounting, stepped out of the elevator. He froze, staring directly at me. My stomach flipped. Jason squinted, his eyes moving between my face and the heels. For a terrifying moment, I thought he recognized me. Then he shook his head slightly and walked past. Did he know? Or did he simply assume I was someone else? That question lingered in my mind as Lawson led me back into his office. Once the door closed, the tension vanished instantly. Lawson sat down. Claire smiled slightly. Well done. I exhaled deeply. That was insane. Ramirez chuckled. You didn't fall. That's your standard? It's a start. Lawson leaned forward. Daniel, you handled that better than expected. I looked down at the heels still on my feet. A strange mix of embarrassment and adrenaline pulsed through me. So, does this mean I got the job? Lawson tapped the contract again. Only if you sign. Pen sat beside it. Waiting. Everything suddenly felt very real. Promotion. The money. The new identity. 6 months living as Danielle Carter. My mind raced with questions. What would Mia think? Could I actually pull this off? What if someone discovered the truth? But another thought crept into my mind. Quieter one. What if I enjoyed it? Claire opened another folder. Inside were photos of professional outfits. Business dresses. Tailored skirts. Blouses. High-end heels. We'll begin training tomorrow, she said. Makeup coaching. Voice adjustment. Professional posture. This transformation must be convincing. Transformation. The word echoed in my head. For a moment I imagined something wild. Walking into the office one morning, not as Daniel, but as Danielle. Hair styled. Makeup flawless. Heels clicking confidently across the floor. And nobody knowing the truth. The thought made my heart race. Lawson slid the contract toward me again. Your decision. I stared at the paper. Then at the heels. Then at my reflection in the office window. The wig framed my face. Softening it. Changing it. Creating someone new. Someone powerful. Someone dangerous. Slowly, I picked up the pen. My hand hovered above the contract. Once I signed, there would be no going back. No explaining this away. No pretending it was just curiosity anymore. This would be my job. My identity. My secret. I took one final breath and signed my name, Daniel Carter. Lawson immediately smiled. Congratulations. Claire closed the folder. Welcome to Project Athena. Ramirez nodded. And welcome. He glanced at the wig. To Danielle. That night, when I returned to our apartment, Mia was sitting on the couch, surrounded by fashion magazines. She looked up and smiled. How was work? My heart skipped, 'cause she had no idea. No idea that her boyfriend had just accepted a promotion that required him to become a woman. For 6 months. And the worst part? The training started tomorrow. Which meant soon, very soon, Mia might come home one day and see something she never expected. A wig, high heels, makeup, or worse, completely transformed version of me. Danielle. As I walked into the bedroom to change, something on the dresser made my stomach drop. A new pair of heels. Red, tall, and definitely not mine. I picked them up slowly. Mia, I called. She walked into the doorway. Oh, those? She smiled casually. I bought them for a new photo shoot. Then she looked at me carefully, her eyes narrowing slightly. You know, she said slowly. They'd probably look really good on you. My heart stopped. Did she know? Or was she just joking? Because if Mia ever discovered the truth about my new promotion, everything could collapse. The next 3 weeks felt like living 2 completely different lives. During the day, I was Danielle Carter, Senior Marketing Director for Project Athena. Perfect makeup, professional dresses, confident posture, heels that clicked across the polished office floors like I had been wearing them my entire life. But at night, I was still Daniel, Mia's boyfriend, living in our tiny apartment, trying desperately to hide the biggest secret of my life. And every day the line between those two people grew thinner. Claire Whitmore personally supervised my transformation. First it felt ridiculous. Voice training, walking lessons, makeup tutorials. But something strange started happening. I got better. Fast. Too fast. Within days I could walk confidently in 4-inch heels. Within a week my posture had changed completely. And the first time the makeup artist finished working on my face, even I didn't recognize the reflection. Soft foundation, defined eyes, subtle lipstick. The mirror didn't show Daniel anymore. It showed Danielle. And that terrified me. Not because it looked bad, but because it looked too real. Claire noticed my reaction. Scared, she asked. A little. She smiled calmly. That means it's working. The real test came 2 weeks later. A private business dinner with the international client behind Project Athena. This was the moment Danielle had to exist. Not as a test. Not as practice. But as a real person. When the stylist finished preparing me, I stared at the mirror again. Black executive dress. Blonde hair styled perfectly. Diamond earrings. And heels that made me stand taller than ever before. I looked powerful, confident, feminine, and for a moment, I forgot I was pretending. The restaurant was expensive enough to make me nervous. Crystal glasses, soft music, corporate executives everywhere. When I walked in beside Claire, conversations slowed. Heads turned. Not suspiciously, but with interest. One of the clients stood up immediately. You must be Danielle Carter. My heart nearly stopped. But Danielle smiled. Yes. It's wonderful to meet you. The voice training worked. My tone sounded lighter, smoother, more confident. For the next 2 hours, Danielle controlled the room. She explained the marketing strategy. She answered difficult questions. She made people laugh. And when the dinner ended, client shook my hand firmly. You're exactly who we needed for this project. The deal was secured. Project Athena succeeded. And Danielle was the reason. Back home, Mia had started noticing changes. Small ones at first. Why are you standing differently? Why do you smell like perfume? Since when do you know so much about makeup brands? Every question made my heart race. I lied. Badly. Work stress. New coworkers. Random excuses. But Mia was smart. And slowly, her suspicions grew. One evening I returned home late, still wearing a faint trace of foundation I hadn't completely removed. Mia was waiting in the kitchen, arms crossed, watching me carefully. Daniel. My stomach tightened. Yeah. She stepped closer, then suddenly wiped her thumb across my cheek. My heart froze. The tiny smudge of makeup appeared on her finger. The silence that followed felt endless. She looked at the smudge, then at me. You want to explain this? Panic rushed through my chest. Think. Think fast. It's from work, I said quickly. From who? A coworker. Mia raised an eyebrow. What coworker leaves makeup on your face? I couldn't answer. The lie had reached its limit. For a terrifying moment I thought everything was over. Then Mia sighed and shook her head. Never mind. She walked away. But the doubt in her eyes stayed with me all night. 3 days later, Claire called me into her office. Her expression was serious. We have a situation. What kind? She slid a document toward me. Public event invitation. A massive corporate gala. Hundreds of executives. Media coverage. Major investors. You'll be presenting Project Athena's success, Claire said. My stomach dropped. In front of all of them? Yes. The room felt colder. Because this wasn't just a dinner anymore. This was a stage. Lights. Cameras. Exposure. And if someone recognized me, everything would collapse. But that wasn't the worst part. Claire added one final detail. The gala allows guests. My heart skipped. And she looked directly at me. You should bring your partner. My brain struggled to process what she was saying. You want me to bring Mia? Claire nodded. It will make Danielle appear more authentic. Authentic. The word felt like a knife. 'Cause that meant Mia would meet Danielle. Face to face. And if she recognized me, the secret would explode instantly. I tried to argue. She might not come. Claire smiled slightly. Then invite her. 2 weeks later, the ballroom glittered with lights. Crystal chandeliers, expensive dresses, sharp suits, and cameras everywhere. Backstage, I stared into the mirror. Danielle stared back. Elegant silver gown. Perfect makeup. Hair styled flawlessly. But behind the beauty, my heart was pounding uncontrollably. 'Cause Mia was somewhere in the crowd. Claire stepped beside me. Nervous. Terrified. She adjusted my necklace. You'll do fine. But she didn't understand the real danger. This wasn't about business anymore. This was about my entire life collapsing. When Danielle stepped onto the stage, the room erupted in applause. Spotlights blinded me. But through the lights, I saw her, Mia, standing near the front, watching me, her expression confused, curious. Something about my face had caught her attention. My speech started automatically. Danielle's voice calm and confident, explaining the success of Project Athena. But Mia kept staring, studying my movements, my voice, my eyes. Halfway through the presentation, her expression changed. Recognition. Sudden. Shocking. Her eyes widened. My heart stopped. She knew. Somehow, she knew. And then the worst possible thing happened. As I stepped down from the stage, my heel caught the edge of the platform. For a split second I lost balance. My wig shifted slightly. Just enough. Just enough for Mia to see the truth. Daniel and Danielle. The same person. The room kept applauding. But across the crowd, Mia stared at me like she had just discovered a completely different reality. Later that night, I rushed out of the ballroom, still wearing the gown, still Danielle. And as I reached the quiet hallway outside, a voice stopped me. Daniel! My heart dropped. I slowly turned around. Mia stood there, her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. She looked me up and down. The dress, the heels, the makeup, the wig, everything. Then she asked one quiet question. Do you want to tell me why my boyfriend is pretending to be a woman in front of 500 executives? I opened my mouth, but no words came out, 'cause I had no idea what to say. And Mia's next sentence made the situation even worse. You know what the strangest part is? She stepped closer, lowering her voice. I think you looked really good up there. My brain froze. Was she angry? Impressed? Hurt? Or something else entirely? Truth about Daniel and Danielle had finally been exposed. But the real question remained. What would Mia do now? The hallway outside the ballroom felt strangely quiet. The distant music from the gala echoed faintly through the walls, but everything around me felt frozen. Mia stood in front of me, arms crossed, eyes locked on mine. Or maybe not mine. Danielle's. For the first time since this crazy journey began, the two identities had collided. There was nowhere left to hide. No more excuses. No more lies. Just the truth. I slowly removed the wig. The soft blonde hair slid off, revealing my real messy dark hair underneath. My hands trembled slightly as I held it. Mia, I started. But she raised her hand gently. Wait! Her eyes moved over my face again. The makeup. The earrings. The silver gown. The heels. She let out a long breath. You really committed to this, huh? Her tone wasn't angry. That somehow made it even more terrifying. I can explain, I said quickly. You better. We walked outside the building. Cool night air hit my face, mixing awkwardly with the layers of makeup still on my skin. I still looked like Danielle. But inside, I felt completely exposed. We sat on a bench near the entrance. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then I finally said it. The promotion required it. Mia turned slowly. What? I told her everything. The meeting. The offer. Project Athena. The 6 months as Danielle. Contract. The training. Every single detail. And the longer I talked, the quieter she became. When I finished, she just stared at the ground. You should have told me, she said softly. I know. I thought you trusted me. I do. Then why hide it? I didn't have a perfect answer. 'Cause the truth was messy. I was scared, I admitted. Of what? That you'd think it was weird. Mia let out a small laugh. Daniel, I'm a fashion stylist. She gestured toward my dress. I literally dress people for a living. That was a fair point. But this is different, I said. Is it? She looked at me carefully. You didn't just wear a dress tonight. You became someone else. Her words hung in the air. 'Cause she was right. Somewhere along the way, Danielle had become more than just a disguise. She was confident, bold, fearless in ways Daniel had never been. Mia studied my face for a long moment. Then she asked quietly, So, which one is the real you? My chest tightened. I don't know. That was the honest answer. I started this because of the job, I continued. But after a while, something changed. How? When I'm Danielle, people see me differently. Better. Stronger. And you like that? I hesitated. Yeah. Mia leaned back slightly, thinking. So you don't want to stop? That's not what I said. But you don't want to stop either. Truth sat silently between us. Then something completely unexpected happened. Mia smiled. Not sarcastically. Not bitterly. Just genuinely amused. You know what the funniest part is? What? She pointed toward my heels. I've been trying to teach you fashion for 3 years. And you only learned it when your boss forced you. I blinked. You're not mad. Oh, I'm definitely mad. My stomach dropped again. But not for the reason you think. She poked my shoulder lightly. I'm mad you looked that good in a silver gown. I couldn't help laughing. Tension cracked slightly. Mia stood up and looked back at the glowing ballroom windows. So, this job. 6 months, she asked. I nodded. And after that? I go back to normal. She crossed her arms again. But do you want to? That question hit harder than I expected. Did I? The answer wasn't simple anymore. Danielle had opened something inside me. Confidence. Curiosity. A different version of myself. But Daniel still existed too. Finally I said, I think. I want both. Mia raised an eyebrow. Both. Daniel and Danielle. That sounds complicated. It probably will be. She thought about it for a moment, then shrugged. Life's boring without complications. Project Athena became the most successful campaign in Horizon Dynamics history. Danielle Carter became famous inside the company. Confident executive who saved the project. When the 6-month contract ended, Lawson called me into his office again. You've exceeded every expectation, he said. So what happens now? I asked. He smiled slightly. We'd like you to stay. As Danielle. As whichever version of yourself works best. For the first time, the choice was mine. That evening, I returned home. Mia was sitting in the living room surrounded by dresses again. She looked up. So, what did they say? I set 2 outfits on the couch. One was a suit. The other was a dress. They said I can choose. Mia grinned. Good. She tossed me a pair of heels. Because we have a party tonight. I looked at the heels. Then at the dress. Then at Mia. And which one should I wear? She leaned back casually. That depends. On what? She smirked. Who do you feel like being tonight? Daniel. Or Danielle? For the first time, both answers felt right. And maybe that was the real transformation all along.